Hello, everyone. I am going live once again, just to kind of, I don't know, share with you some thoughts I had as we come to Friday, the end of the week for a lot of people, people who have like Monday through Friday jobs and things like that. At the moment, I am working on my business, so I kind of have a sort of more flexible schedule that doesn't necessarily mean that ends or begins on a Friday or Monday or whatever. I'm just kind of doing my own thing. But it made me think about that not so long ago time when I indeed would be celebrating Friday, as many of you perhaps are. And I was thinking, like, wow, what was it like for me to be an employee back then compared to like how do I feel now, and what was the transition between my employee mindset and now my owning and building my own business mindset. And I think a lot of it it's been quite difficult. You hear that a lot, like entrepreneurship's really difficult, but I can attest now that is completely true. And it's true in ways that are very surprising, because it's not, in a lot of cases, not like the business parts that are difficult. It's really like your psychological state and emotions and things that make it difficult. And so I kind of want to focus on that part. As I think of it, what I'd like to do is talk about how I kind of smashed through my employee mindset, because that was kind of in a lot of ways holding me back from really embracing becoming an entrepreneur, was this sort of mindset that you get from kind of being in the system where you have a job, you go for a set number of hours in the day, for a set number of days, et cetera, et cetera. So how to break through that? I'd say the first thing that really struck me when I left my job and started working on my own business was that I no longer had someone telling me what to do, which sounds great, right? I mean, that's like kind of what one of the main benefits, they say, of being your own boss, is that no one's going to tell you what to do. However, what you don't realize is that means you kind of have to decide yourself every day, every hour, what you're doing and what's the best course of action for what you want to achieve. And that can be really exhausting. And when I first started this adventure, I was kind of doing it in the way that I would approach my work when I was in a job. Whereas, like, if I'm in a job, my boss is like giving me an instruction and I go do it, do the analysis, do whatever. Then I show him it and he's like, okay, good. Okay, now do this thing. And da, 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 da. And there's this like back and forth throughout the entire day of like, he tells me one small part, I do it, I show it. Good job. He gives me another small part, I go do it. Good job. And it's the kind of like the same thing that we did in school as well. Like, you go to school for a bit, they give you a little piece of homework, you bring it back the next day, and good job. And it kind of like builds and builds and builds. And it's because there is like this overarching plan that has been decided by someone else that has nothing to do with you or your decisions. You're just kind of doing what someone's telling you. And then at the end of the year, of the school year, or at the end of the, at the end of the year of in business, you kind of hope it all makes sense. So now I'm having to kind of give myself my own assignments, and I was trying to do it the way I was used to it in school and in a job, which was, okay, do a small thing, do the work, see how it turns out, and try to like fit that into what's gone in before, and then like do it again and kind of repeat this back and forth process of like come up with a mini strategy and execute it. Come up with a mini strategy and execute it. And I found that whole process to be exhausting. I was getting lost. I had no idea like where I was kind of like think I was heading one direction, and then I'd just be like wandering off into the forest into a completely different direction. And I realized that this model of like constantly coming up with small little steps and implementing at the same time did not work for me as an entrepreneur. So instead, what I have established in my own schedule is having clear strategic phases and implementation phases. So, and it's kind of like when they say, in a business, you do batch processing. So, you have your chunk of time, like give yourself, however many weeks or days or whatever to like come up with your strategy and see it through. Like, where do you want to begin? Where is it going to take your business, and how are you going to wrap it up? What's the goal, etc. And it doesn't have to be like for your entire business, but at least for like some piece of it of what you're trying to achieve. You take that and then you have something that's like a whole piece. You can kind of see the goal, see the point. You know why you're doing what you're doing, and you don't have to like stop after every single task and like wonder, well, what do I do next? You have your sort of blueprint. So once you have your blueprint, and that's like the strategic phase, then you can move on to the implementation phase, which is great because now you have kind of basically you become the teacher or the boss telling you what to do. You just look at your blueprint and you say, okay, well, I said I was going to do that, so now I do this, implement. Okay, now I do this, now I do this. And of course, you're going to be checking your own work now, but at least you're not having to like, after every single piece is complete, go back, stop your flow and like think about if this is really what you want to do, etc. As long as you're hitting the points in your strategy blueprint, then you should be good to go. And of course, you can always like reevaluate at a midway point if this is the direction you really want to go, etc., etc. But at least you're not constantly doing that exhausting cycle of small task, evaluate, small task, evaluate, small task, evaluate, which quite frankly, kind of drove me a little bit crazy. So that was the first major shift I did as I was going from the employee mindset to a business owner mindset. And then a second shift that I'm going to talk about is having a really clear picture of the reward I was going to get from all this work. Because, again, going back to like when you're in school, when you're in a job, you have like a really clear picture of what you're going to get. So if you do your homework really well, you're going to get A's and that's going to be great. You're going to get a pat on the head. You're going to get into a good college and life is going to be grand. When you're an employee, if you do the work that your boss gives you, you're going to get your salary, you're going to get a bonus, you're going to get, you know what you're going to get. And that is a large part of what drives you and what keeps you showing up every day. However, when you are trying to start your own business and then when you are running that business, sometimes you don't have a really clear picture of what all your very hard work is going to end up providing. So for me, again, this was something I really struggled with, especially at the beginning, was it felt like, okay, I'm doing all this work, I'm kind of like mapping out the strategy, but I don't really know. I mean, there's maybe perhaps like an end goal for the strategy, but what does it actually mean? Like, you know, it could be that I launch this and no one cares and then nothing happens and there's no reward. And so you really need some sort of tangible, clear reward like you would have kind of implicitly if you're working somewhere. You need the same sort of incentive for yourself when you're a business owner. And that's why I think you see a lot of kind of business coaches, they tell you that you have to like make a vision board and kind of like see yourself being really successful and blah, blah, blah. And when I first heard that, I was a bit like kind of put off by it just because it sounded a bit too magical for me. But I see the logic in it now because it's not really like, it's not magic. They're not saying like if you see yourself being really successful, it's going to magically happen, but they're just planting a seed and saying like you need to give yourself, like psychologically, like you need to feel like you're working towards something. You need to give yourself some form of incentive for like all of your hard work. And that can be sort of like almost like this dream you have that you've planted in your mind of like, this is what my life is going to look like once I've done this launch. It's going to look like this and this and this. And that's what keeps you motivated. And that's what I didn't have when I first left my job and started all this. And things kind of like went downhill very quickly because you just, again, you get exhausted. You feel like, okay, what's the whole point of this? No one really is going to care. You know, people are thinking I'm crazy anyway because I left my job. So like, what's the point? But now I've been working really hard on having very clear, tangible rewards that I will get once I complete, you know, whatever strategy I've laid out for myself. So that is essential. I think for any business owner, you know, it's hard work, it's a grind. That's why they call it, you know, hustle and grind, all that. And you just need to have some sort of very clear reward mapped out for yourself. And that can be like, you know, a lot of people use Pinterest to like make vision boards for themselves, or you can have it be in a spreadsheet if you want to be super logical about it, like what your revenue targets are going to be and then what you can like buy with that. It can be as like financial, as emotional, as like materialistic or non-materialistic as you want. It just has to be something that's going to like resonate with you and something that you can look at on those dark days where nothing is going your way. You need something that you can look at and say, yeah, I'm gonna keep going because this is what I'm gonna get once I get through this dark period. So that is why that's what I kind of wish I knew back when I first started this adventure, but I know it now, and maybe I'm hoping that if you're watching this, you can, and you're starting your business journey, what I'm saying can help you as well. So that's all I have for today. Thank you for everyone who is either watching live or is going to watch on the replay. I will probably be, it's still cold outside. I said I was going to show you guys my balcony yesterday, and it's still too cold to do that. But hopefully it's going to be warming up in the next day or so. So I'm hoping to do a video from my balcony in the next few days or so. So please look out for that. And in the meantime, I will see you later. Bye-bye.